The sound reached the courtroom before the cameras could fully capture what was happening. A sharp breath. The scrape of a chair. Then a dull impact that was not loud enough to cause chaos, yet heavy enough to make every person in the room turn toward the same table. When the picture finally settled, Robyn was leaning forward with both hands pressed against the polished surface in front of her. Her face had lost its color. Her eyes looked distant, as if she were physically present but struggling to process the reality unfolding around her. Someone quietly called her name. She did not respond. Across the room, Kody stood near the witness area, completely still. From a distance, he appeared composed. But the longer the camera remained on him, the more difficult it became to ignore the tension written across his face. His jaw was locked. His eyes kept moving from Aurora to Robyn and then back again. Aurora sat between them, but emotionally, she seemed completely alone. Her shoulders trembled as she stared at the sealed envelope resting on the table. Both hands were folded tightly in her lap, her fingers interlocked so firmly that it looked as though she were trying to keep herself from falling apart. A court officer remained close behind her chair. Nobody said why. Nobody needed to. The entire room seemed to understand that something serious was about to happen. Near the back, one of the production staff members whispered to the camera crew. Only a few words were audible. "Keep recording." The judge slowly cleared his throat. His expression carried the exhaustion of someone who had witnessed countless families bring their private pain into a public room. He looked at the envelope. Then he looked at Aurora. Whenever she was ready, he told her she could begin. Aurora inhaled. The breath shook all the way through her body. "I never wanted it to happen like this," she said. That was all. But the words changed the atmosphere immediately. Robyn lifted one hand as if she wanted to reach for her daughter. Halfway there, she stopped. Her fingers curled inward. Kody took a step forward. The judge raised his hand. "Stay where you are." Kody stopped. Aurora lowered her eyes toward the envelope again. Inside was a single document that had somehow brought cameras, lawyers, court officials, and members of the family into the same room. Whatever it contained had already changed the tone of the hearing before anyone had even read a word. Aurora looked terrified. Robyn looked as though she might collapse. And Kody had barely blinked. Then Aurora spoke again. "This is going to change everything." The screen could have faded to black at that exact moment and still left everyone wondering what came next. But the real story had started much earlier. About an hour before the courtroom reached that breaking point, Aurora had walked through the hallway alone. There were no cameras following her then. No relatives surrounding her. No one telling her what to do. Only the sound of her footsteps against the tiled floor and the folded paper hidden inside her pocket. She had read the document so many times that she no longer needed to look at it to remember what it said. Still, she could not stop carrying it. She paused near a water fountain. For several seconds, she considered leaving. Then she continued. Later, she stopped outside the restroom. Again, she thought about turning around. Again, she kept walking. By the time Aurora reached the courtroom, most of the seats were still empty. A clerk was working at a desk. One attorney was searching through a briefcase. A court officer stood nearby. Nothing about the room suggested that a family bombshell was about to explode. Aurora quietly walked to one end of the table and sat down. Then she placed the envelope in front of her. There was no name written on it. No date. No explanation. But Aurora knew exactly what it contained. A few minutes later, Robyn entered the room. The first thing she noticed was Aurora. The second thing she noticed was the envelope. Her expression immediately changed. She tried to smile. She tried to make the situation feel normal. But the tension around her eyes revealed that she understood this was anything but normal. Robyn sat beside Aurora and spoke softly. "You don't have to do this today." Aurora did not look at her. "I do." Robyn carefully placed a hand against her daughter's back. It was a gentle movement, almost cautious. Aurora looked as though one unexpected word could break her completely. Then Kody arrived. He did not sit beside them. He remained standing near the witness area with his arms crossed. His eyes repeatedly drifted toward the envelope. A member of the production crew approached and quietly informed him that filming had been approved for part of the hearing. If things become too personal, we'll stop recording. Kody gave a small shrug. Nothing is too personal. But his voice did not sound convincing. The judge entered moments later. Everyone stood. Then everyone sat. The clerk announced that the court was continuing a matter involving family testimony and supporting documents. The wording was deliberately broad. There would be no dramatic description. No detailed explanation. At least not yet. The court wanted to deal with the material carefully. But anyone familiar with the history surrounding the Brown family knew that secrets rarely remained quiet for long. Aurora looked toward the judge. He gave her a patient nod. She reached for the envelope. Her fingertips touched it. Then she immediately pulled her hand away. She still could not open it. Before anyone could speak, the courtroom door opened. A producer entered carrying a thin binder. He approached the judge and whispered something that the microphones failed to catch. The judge's expression changed for only a second. His eyes widened slightly. Then he nodded. The producer left. Aurora had noticed. "Is that about me?" she asked. Robyn immediately reached for her hand. "Honey, please." But Aurora shook her head. "I need to know." The judge leaned forward. "We'll discuss that later. Right now, I need your statement." Silence returned to the courtroom. Aurora closed her eyes. She took one breath. Then another. Her hand returned to the envelope. Kody shifted his position. It was a small movement, but the sound seemed unusually loud in the quiet room. The judge looked at Aurora. "Take your time." At last, Aurora pulled the envelope toward herself. No one yet understood that what she was about to reveal would become more than a simple statement. There were secrets inside that room. There were questions that had been left unanswered. And there were people who seemed terrified of what Aurora might finally say. She slowly lifted the envelope. The paper made a soft sound against the wooden table. Her thumb traced the sealed edge. Her wrist trembled. The judge watched her with concern. Robyn watched her desperately. Kody watched as though he were waiting for something he had feared for a long time. But Aurora still did not open it. Instead, she held it in both hands. "I never expected this," she quietly said. "I never planned any of it." Robyn leaned closer. "You're not by yourself. We can deal with this together." Aurora slowly shook her head. "Not this time." The words hit Robyn hard. The judge kept his voice calm. "You can begin wherever you feel comfortable." Aurora placed the envelope down again and pressed both hands against the table. Then she finally began. "When I found out, I didn't tell anybody for almost 2 weeks." Kody released a short breath. Aurora continued. "At first, I thought something had to be wrong. I thought maybe it wasn't real." Her voice began to shake. Robyn's hand hovered near her arm. Aurora looked toward the judge. "But it was real," she said. "And after that, nothing was the same." Then she looked directly at Kody. "I tried to tell you." More than once. Robyn turned sharply toward him. Kody lifted his chin. "Aurora, we talked about this." "No." The interruption surprised even Aurora. "You talked," she said. "I listened." The judge immediately stepped in before the argument could grow. "Stay with your statement." Aurora nodded. "I wrote everything down." She motioned toward the envelope. The dates. The messages. What happened? What didn't happen? A low reaction moved through the gallery. Aurora paused. Robyn whispered that she did not need to read the entire thing aloud. The court could review the document privately. But Aurora shook her head. "If I don't say it myself, somebody else will tell my story for me." And for the first time that day, her hands appeared steadier. Aurora opened the envelope. The sound of the seal tearing was small, but everyone heard it. Kody stiffened. Robyn held her breath. Aurora removed a folded piece of paper. The edges were worn. It had clearly been handled many times. She unfolded it carefully and placed it flat on the table. "I wrote this on the night everything changed." Her voice trembled. "I didn't know who I could trust. I didn't know what people would say. I didn't know what would happen when everyone found out." She tightened her grip on the page. "I thought telling the truth would make things easier." Aurora paused. Instead of getting easier, she said, everything became worse. Then came the sentence that froze the room. I never imagined I'd end up sitting here, pregnant and alone, trying to explain how this happened. The reaction was immediate. Someone gasped. A chair shifted. The camera itself appeared to move as the crew reacted. Robyn covered her mouth. Her eyes instantly filled with tears. Kody went pale. For several seconds, nobody knew what to say. Aurora kept her eyes on the document. There's something else that nobody knows. The courtroom became even quieter. She explained that she had kept the truth to herself because she was afraid. Afraid of questions. Afraid of blame. Afraid that once people knew, they would look at her differently forever. But secrets had a way of becoming heavier over time. The longer she stayed silent, the harder it became to continue pretending that everything was normal. Eventually, she said, she told Robyn first. I knew you would listen. Robyn nodded through her tears. I always will. Aurora looked at her mother for a moment. Then she continued. After that, the situation became complicated very quickly. People began making assumptions. Rumors spread. Conversations happened without her being present. People reached conclusions before understanding what had actually taken place. And somehow, the situation eventually reached a courtroom. I never wanted anyone else dragged into this, Aurora said. But once people started blaming each other, it became impossible to stop. Robyn's hand suddenly dropped against the table. Aurora immediately reached over and covered it with her own. The judge then looked toward Kody. Mr. Brown, if you cannot remain silent, you may have to leave. Kody did not respond. Aurora looked directly at him. This isn't about revenge. Her voice was stronger now. It's about knowing what really happened. She reminded him that he had repeatedly claimed to want the truth. So here it is. Kody began to speak. Aurora, please let me finish. The judge allowed her to continue. Aurora explained that the rumors surrounding the situation had become completely distorted. People had taken private details and reshaped them. Others had assigned blame to people who, according to Aurora, did not deserve it. Her voice broke. The worst part is how quickly everyone blamed the wrong people. She wiped her face. That's why I brought this here. Not to destroy anyone. Not to protect anyone. I just want to explain what happened myself. Robyn softly begged her not to read the next section. But Aurora refused. Because the next part explains why the court became involved. She looked toward Kody. And why everything suddenly started pointing toward someone who shouldn't have been involved at all. Kody shifted uncomfortably. Aurora looked down at the page. Then she read another section. The truth was never about who everyone suspected. The gallery became restless. It was about who came into the situation after everything had already fallen apart. Aurora paused. And what that involvement revealed. Robyn tightened her grip on Aurora's hand. Kody's expression darkened. Aurora folded the page once. Then she placed it back on the table. That's when everything started pointing at you. She was looking directly at Kody. He did not answer. For the first time, the confidence he had tried to maintain appeared to disappear. But Aurora was not finished. She looked back toward the envelope. There's more. The room waited. More than just my statement. Aurora's voice softened. There's evidence. Robyn immediately shook her head. You don't have to show them. But Aurora looked at her with sadness. I stayed quiet too long. The judge leaned forward. If there are additional documents or materials, the court will need to examine them. Aurora nodded. She reached inside the envelope once again. This time, she did not remove another sheet of paper. She pulled out a small black notebook. It was old. The cover was worn. The edges looked damaged from years of handling. The reaction around the courtroom was immediate. Robyn's entire body stiffened. Aurora, she whispered. Where did you get that? Aurora did not answer immediately. Instead, she slowly opened the notebook. The pages contained cramped handwriting. Some writing appeared hurried. Some sections were uneven. The judge leaned forward. Is that your journal? Aurora looked up. No. The word caused another wave of whispers. Someone in the gallery quietly asked whether the notebook belonged to Kody. The court officer called for silence. Aurora stared at the notebook. I found it by accident. She paused. I wasn't supposed to see it. Robyn turned toward Kody. Her voice cracked. Tell me this isn't what I think it is. Kody remained silent. Aurora opened the notebook to a marked page. A small piece of paper had been placed between the pages. She removed it and positioned it so the judge could see. I didn't bring this here to hurt anyone, Aurora said. But after everything that happened, I couldn't keep pretending it didn't exist. The judge studied the material. His expression changed. He did not read the contents aloud. But whatever he saw made him immediately more serious. He carefully closed the notebook. Where did this come from? Aurora hesitated. Then she gave the answer that stunned the room. It was left outside my house the same night I found out I was pregnant. The courtroom erupted with whispers. An anonymous delivery. No message. No explanation. Just a notebook left where Aurora would find it. The judge stared at her. Nothing else was there? Aurora shook her head. Robyn looked physically ill. Kody suddenly moved forward. Aurora, that notebook doesn't, he stopped. He never completed the sentence. But the fear on his face was enough to make people wonder what he had been about to say. The judge called for the notebook to be collected and preserved. A court officer approached with gloves and removed it from the table. Aurora covered her face. Until that moment, she had managed to hold herself together. But now the reality of what she had introduced into the courtroom appeared to overwhelm her. Robyn reached for her. Tears ran down her face. The notebook was no longer simply a private object. It was now evidence. And whatever secrets it contained were about to be examined by people outside the family. The judge turned back toward Aurora. His tone remained gentle, but the hearing had clearly changed. I need to ask you some questions. Aurora nodded. You said the notebook appeared on your doorstep the night you learned you were pregnant. Was anything else left with it? No. No letter. No. No explanation? No. Robyn leaned closer. You never told me that. Aurora lowered her eyes. I didn't want to scare you. Robyn gave a broken laugh through her tears. I'm scared now. The judge continued. Did you recognize the handwriting? Aurora froze. For only a second, her eyes moved toward Kody. That was enough. The people in the gallery began whispering again. The judge waited for silence. Then repeated the question. Did you recognize it? Aurora inhaled slowly. I thought I might have. She quickly added that she did not want to accuse anyone based only on suspicion. She was not certain. She had not compared the writing. She had not contacted an expert. She had simply recognized details that felt familiar. Did you read all of it? The judge asked. No. Aurora admitted that some pages felt too personal to read. Some sections appeared as though they were never meant for her. Robyn looked confused. Then why did you keep it? Aurora's eyes filled again. Because some of what I did read matched things people were already talking about. She struggled to continue. And I didn't know how to deal with that by myself. The judge confirmed that the notebook had been secured. Then, at last, he turned toward Kody. His words were measured. Mr. Brown, the presence of this notebook does not establish that you have done anything wrong. However, I need to know whether you recognize it. Kody looked at the notebook. Then Aurora. Then Robyn. The pressure was visible. Finally, he answered. No. He said he had never seen it. Robyn stared at him. Kody, if you know something, I said I've never seen it. The judge interrupted. Enough. He explained that the court would have the notebook examined. The handwriting could be compared. The object could be tested. Investigators could determine whether there were fingerprints or other evidence showing where it had come from. Then he returned to Aurora. Why did you believe this might be connected to Mr. Brown? Aurora did not look at Kody. She stared straight ahead. Because some of the things inside were about me. The courtroom went silent again. Things nobody should have known. Robyn covered her mouth. Aurora continued. The notebook included details about conversations she claimed had never happened in front of anyone else. It mentioned personal information that she believed had been private. Then she revealed the most disturbing detail of all. One page mentioned the night I found out I was pregnant. The judge slowly leaned back. A night you had not told anyone about? Aurora nodded. Not even my mother. The implication immediately filled the room. If the notebook truly contained information from that night, then the writer had somehow known something before Aurora had publicly revealed it. The judge spoke carefully. So whoever wrote it may have had information they should not have had. Yes, Aurora's voice cracked. That's why I brought it here. I didn't know who else I could trust. For the first time in several minutes, Kody spoke. Aurora, are you saying you think I wrote that? Aurora finally looked at him. Are you saying I left it outside your door? He continued. That I knew things I couldn't possibly know? Aurora's expression changed. She looked exhausted, confused, heartbroken. I don't know what to think anymore. And that was where the hearing became more dangerous than anyone expected. Because the court now had a statement. It had a mysterious notebook. It had questions about private information. And it had a family whose trust appeared to be collapsing in real time. But the biggest surprise was still waiting. As the judge prepared to continue questioning Aurora, another person entered the courtroom carrying information that would push the entire sister-wives drama into an even darker direction. What happened next would force Aurora to explain why she had waited so long. It would raise new questions about the notebook. And it would reveal that the sealed envelope had never contained the full story. The end, first part, is over. If you like this, then don't forget to like this video and subscribe the channel. Next part coming very soon.